My guest today is a dear friend and a very established and accomplished author, and a person who I have been in awe of and in love with. I've had my fangirl moment with her number of times, and please join me as I welcome Kiran Manral to TellTale with Kanchana. Kiran, I'm so delighted and I'm honored that you've agreed to do this podcast recording with me. Thank you so much.
I think I'm delighted and honored that you invited me. Thank you for inviting me, Kanchana.
Oh.
And thank you for all those kind words.
No, na Kiran, that I've followed Kiran much before I joined the kind of author world or book world. I followed her as a as a reporter, as a journalist for Times of India. I used to read her columns, I used to read her blogs, and I was I was and I still am a huge fan of Kiran.
Very flattered, Kanchana. Thank you for so much.
So Kiran, tell me something. What makes you get up every morning and write? What is it
I
that?
don't know.
Hmm.
Second, why are these? 1 second, Kanchana. Sorry, I don't know why these updates are coming on this tan tan tan. Give me a moment. Huh? I have to turn this. So, what makes me get up in the morning? I would like to say the alarm clock, but it's not the alarm clock, Kanchana. It's my human alarm clock. That's my husband, who is such a lark that he gets up at 4 a.m. and goes for his morning walk. So since I get up by default at that time because he creates such a ruckus, then I get down to doing all my tasks and then get to my desk as soon as I've finished all the, you know how it is, no? There's tiffin boxes to be made, there's prep to be done for breakfast, and all that is done. And then I'm at my desk by I think around 6:15, 6:30. No, that's the days I'm not doing the gym in the morning. So yeah, what wakes me up in the morning is actually my husband. And not any great desire to write the best novel possible. It's just too much of noise happening in the bedroom when I'm sleeping.
That's nice. But actually, I wanted to kind of get inside the creative part of your head as to you've done so many different things. Ever since I've known you, you've been a journalist, you've written for newspapers, magazines, you've been a blogger, and then an author. Then you've been closely associated with She the People. Now you're a podcaster, and of course, you have continued to write so many wonderful books, and I'm sure you're still writing it. So, what is it that motivates you to one keep on writing, and the second question is that that you what is it that motivates you to try out and do something new every now and then?
I think those are two really simple questions, but which are really difficult if one really thinks about them. What is it that motivates me to write every day? I think there's nothing else that gives me joy. You know it. You're a writer yourself, Kanchana, and you've written wonderful thrillers. The thing is that when you're a creative person, there is that itch in you. I mean, why would one do this? It's not well paid. It's bad for the back. You isolate yourself like a cave person for months. I mean, you hardly meet people. You only step out. At least I only step out when I have podcasts. So when some friends try to disown me. So why would one do that to oneself unless there's some inner demon that drives us? So I can't explain why I write. I think it's just one is either born a storyteller or one becomes a storyteller. I think I was born a storyteller and I've always been telling stories, really bad stories and some good stories.
No, all good stories. No bad stories here.
So that's just what it is. And as to your second question about how I keep changing things around, I think I have a very low boredom threshold. I can't do the same thing over and over again. For instance, I mean, in the beginning, I did write humor. I did write a couple of books that were really funny. And I love writing humor. And it's something that comes very naturally to me. You know me as a person, I'm always sort of making some stupid wisecrack or the other. Uh, but I don't think I'm in that space now where I could write that kind of book again. I've sort of grown. I don't know whether it's grown for the good or for the bad, but I've changed and my voice has become very different. It's become very dark. It's become very contemplative. And this low boredom threshold does not let me go back to writing romance. For the life of me, I can't write romance again. I can't write chick lit again. I cannot do any parenting. Of course, the parenting is, the phase is over. I've
Of
grown out of
course.
that. Yeah.
Of course.
So that is also over. And then one writes dark stories. One sort of went into horror. Then when horror was done with, I went into psychological thriller. I did.
Yeah.
Then I went a little surreal. I went a little surreal with More Things in Heaven and Earth, which was also psychological but was also horror. And now with All Those Who Wander, it's science fiction and it's horror and it's
Yeah.
psychological thriller. It's like I've just been adding on one new thing to the list of things I like to write about and try to experiment, I think.
I think it's
So,
lovely that you've always experimented with different genres and you've always moved on. So, has it ever happened to you that your creative juice or the creative spark, have you ever, felt it ebb? And if it has, what did you do to get over it?
has it ever ebbed? I honestly don't know if it has ebbed because I'm the kind of writer who will sit and hammer away at the piece of work. I mean, if it is not working, I'm doing 15 rewrites, I'm doing 25 rewrites. I'm like battling with it. So if if the muse goes away, I'm not paying attention to whether she's there or not there. I am working on my manuscript. And I think if you call yourself a professional writer, it's your job to write. The creative spark will come and go. You do various things. I have a podcast called Chasing Creativity where I try to find out, the elusive thing for people across disciplines as to how they chase creativity. And I'm still trying to find the answer, to be very honest. It's, I think you tune off from the work in progress. That's the easiest thing to do. You shut down for a bit, you do something else, you go for a walk, for me, it's working out. And that's the time when my mind is empty and my body is getting wrung out. All the lactic acid is building up, and your body is shaking and trembling, and I'm groaning and grumbling. Bus, no more rep. Bus ho gaya, sir. Abhi nahi hota hai. All that is happening. But somewhere the mind is churning, and then I come back, and then I'm good to go again because the mind has been emptied out by the physical pain and torture.
True, absolutely.
You're a cycler. You are so into fitness. You know how that is. How that empties out your mind.
It's grueling. Like there's a point. Like I my husband and I, we had done this crazy thing year before last. We wanted to do 100 kilometers in one day, and we were cycling for 7 hours all over Delhi and Gurgaon. Oh man, towards the end, I just wanted to give up. If my husband hadn't been there with me, I think I would have just given it up because
my God.
So that was quite an experience. So, Kiran, you've been in this industry for a fairly long time now. I mean, considering your first book to now. So, how have you changed? How have you observed the industry change in the years? How has it changed?
There's this lovely phrase: the more things change, the more they remain the same. So, I don't know if anything has really changed. I have seen a publishing giant like Westland shut down. I've seen independent book house, something like someone like Chikir Sarkar set up Juggernaut, which is like an app-based thing, and also print. So the publishing scene has seen a lot of churn happening in terms of Penguin and Random House
merged.
Some, I think, Sage shut down operations in India. Things are happening all the time. how has the publishing scene changed? I would like to say that there is a lot more openness to look at new authors, debut authors, and there is no longer that fixation about it being very proper English and proper writing and literary fiction. There's, in that sense, there's a lot more risk taking and experimentation with different voices. But yeah, and I also see a lot of focus on marketing. A lot of publishing decisions are marketing driven, which I guess is important because at the end of the day, it is a business. It's not an indulgence, and bottom lines have to be seen. And since we don't see any bottom lines as authors, I hope we are seeing bottom lines as publishers.
True. So I'm so glad that you brought up the topic of marketing. Marketing has become the most important part in a book journey. In fact, publishing houses are deciding on book acquisitions based on marketing figures and stuff like that. How does it make a creative person like you feel? How do you like? What do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? See, for me, Kanchana, I've never really bothered. Earlier in the at the very start, I was really conscientious about, pushing the books and publicizing the books and doing all these kinds of things and promos. And I'm very grateful for all the publicity and the help that publishing houses gave my initial books when I started out, because then I really thought that, this is what it is and this is how it needs to be. But now I think I'm older and not so wiser, because I've realized that at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is word of mouth. You need one reader to tell another reader, this is a damn good book. You can have all the marketing budgets, you can do all the hype, and the books will go to number one and they will stay on the bestseller list. Will they be read 10 years down the line? For me, that is the only true test of a good book. If a book is going to be read 10 years down the line, you have written a damn good book. If somebody comes to me 5 years after, 6 years after The Face of the Window is out and says, that book, it really spoke to me and it was so beautiful. And I say, yeah, I've written a good book. So marketing, yes, it is essential. The bookshelves are crowded. You have to have your book visible. And the more noise you seem to make, the more it sells. But I think that's not the true test of a good book. I mean, you take a book like, I think, was it The Great Gatsby? It was nowhere when it was released. Then after a few years, it got a lease of life and it went on to become the phenomenon that it did. So good books will stand the test of time. I mean, even if they don't get on, best-selling lists and they don't get on award, short lists and whatever, you need one reader who connects with the book and says that, man, this was a damn good book. Why don't you read it to another reader? That, but I think I write towards that.
I completely agree with you, but my problem is, or my point of discussion is that a lot of publishing houses, and these are well-known, reputed publishing houses, who their editorial team, members of their editorial team, have told me in confidence that editorial decisions are being made by the marketing team, by the sales team, and and they have and senior editorial people have kind of broken down and said that there's nothing we can do because the sales figures are determining editorial acquisition. So I think uh, that is what makes me sad as a writer. As so when I was writing, when I was doing the concept note for my next book, and I sent it to a pretty big reputed publishing house, and they said that why don't we float this around to some producers and etc., and see if this finds any takers. And if it does, then Kanchana, you go ahead and write the book. So I told them that, are you a publishing house or have you converted yourself to a production house? So these are things which are very detrimental to the creative process, and it just makes me feel sad that things are moving in this direction. That's all. That's how I feel about it.
At the end of the day, I mean, that's their loss, I would say. They're losing out on some good books. They're publishing some crap, which might become bestsellers. I'm sorry, but Indrani Mukherjee's book has been published. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
It will be a bestseller if that is the criteria and if that is the ethical stand that people take, that you publish somebody's book who's not been cleared of a murder yet.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry, but I'm really not holding any high values to that this editorial. The marketing decisions.
I'm so
And
glad.
I feel
I'm so glad you said this, Kiran, and this is why I like you so much, that you don't shy away from calling a spade a spade. It's absolutely, and you and Sonali Shroff have done an amazing podcast on this, how to get away with murder. I just loved it, and I told so many of my friends, please listen to this podcast. This is amazing, and of course, all the other episodes of Not Your Auntie. So now,
there you go, word of mouth. There you go, word of mouth.
Absolutely, I think all women and men too should log in and listen to Not Your Auntie, because because both of you talk about very 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 important issues which are part of women's lives and which are not separate from the men, because men are a part of our lives and we are a part of theirs. So it's important that men learn to speak women and women learn to speak men and vice versa. So yeah. So this brings me to my next question, which you and Shonali are have been talking about and will be talking about soon at the Hindu Lit Fest. That the voices of 50 plus women, or stories that women of our age, of your, mine, Shonali's, and so many other women we tell. So what would you say? What's your take on that? The stories that women of our age have to tell. Do they find an easy audience? How do you see that happening?
Just to put this disclaimer out for Shonali, she's not yet crossed 50. She has a year to go. But I totally. I think once you cross 45, you become sort of invisibilized in our culture, and which is a pity, because you're being judged by your ovaries and your reproductive capabilities. And women are getting so much better with age. I see all the women who are over 45, they're smart, they're fit, they're intelligent, they're savvy, they're doing things with their lives. They are like out there and they're claiming their lives. It's not like it was in the past, once you sort of went into menopause, you quietly grew old and then went into bhajan kirtan and died a happy death or sad death, or whatever the case may be. No, women are trekking, women are being sports persons, they're going into their masters, they're running marathons. Why is this segment so invisibilized in every front? Opinions are not taken. I remember a book of mine came out in a magazine, which is a high-end magazine, said to my publicist, not to me directly, so this is anecdotal, that she is out of the range of our target audience. So we cannot feature her. So I was like, you are selling luxury goods. You're carrying those. I am the target audience who can afford those products.
Of course.
So why am I not target audience enough to be featured on your pages? The same thing happens when you go into a store. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I experience this quite often. You go into a store like maybe a Zara or something, and you're trying to find something in your size, you like something, but the salespeople are very busy with the younger crowd that is there, who will probably have a limited budget, who will buy something like they have X amount of money and they're trying to maximize their money and trying to do that. Whereas, you're going there with whatever you can spend, and it's not like, there's a sizing issue. You can fit into the damn things.
Yeah.
I could understand if, it was made to a certain size, and sometimes they'll tell you, we don't have that in your size. And whatever. But no, you are that size. You can fit into the size. But there's this very implicit not a statement, an implicit sort of a behavior that tells you that you are not meant to wear these clothes.
Yeah.
It's not meant for you. Why? I fit into them. I carry them off. It's fine. Or, you're not worth our time. which is annoying.
Hmm.
And if you look at, I mean, heaven knows, if you look at Instagram, you have 20 something selling retinol products. I want to tell them to
Exactly.
shut the
Yeah.
fuck up. I'm sorry for the language, but
No, please do.
I mean, you haven't even earned your wrinkles yet. Keep quiet.
Exactly.
So this whole, I mean, why is aging such an epithet? It's the aim, right? If we're not aging, we'll be dead. So the goal is to age and not to be dead. And it's not this us as women. Men are aging also. But women are aging so much better than the men out
So
there.
much
Kanchana,
better than
look
the
at
men.
the men. Look at the men out there. I'm sorry, I love you all, but please to take good care of yourselves.
Absolutely. You just have to look at your school or college batch. You know, all the women are well turned out. They are glowing. They are gorgeous. And look at the boys that we had crushes on 30 years ago.
And
My God.
It's like there for the grace of God, go ahead.
Absolutely.
So
True.
I mean, our demographic is, I think, a fabulous demographic. We've got so much to offer the world, but we refuse to be invisibilized. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. We refuse to. Fine. So now this brings me to the last question today. That people are consuming content in so many different ways nowadays. Earlier we had only books and we had one Doordarshan. Now we have the OTT, we have the Audible, we have the podcast, we have YouTube, and of course we have books. So do you think, but everyone is saying, and one also feels that way when we go out and at an airport or a railway station or anywhere, people are on their phones. Are we losing readers? Do you think we're losing readers? And as a writer, as a creative person, how do you and what do you feel about this?
Um, See, those who used to read would read anyway. Those who were readers will read anyway, regardless. I mean, I was a reader and I continue to read, but I do consume Netflix also. So maybe my time that I spent reading has shortened. Also, life has more demands now than it had earlier. So maybe that also plays a part. Those who were never readers will go to other mediums and not look at reading. But I think at the end of the day, we all consume stories in some way. So whether it is Netflix, whether it is other OTT platforms, whether it is Audible, whether it is listening to platforms, we are consuming content. And as long as it's not too much social media, if it is informative content, I'm all for it. If you're listening to good podcasts, if you're watching good shows, if you're reading articles online, great, wonderful. As long as you're feeding that brain, or like says, feed your brain any which way. If it is not just, it's not reading books. People are reading so much nonfiction these days. They're listening to so much nonfiction. So I think in that way, there is consuming of the written word going on. It's, as you said, the medium has changed. But those who are reading fiction, those who love reading fiction will always read. If you see those young kids, there are kids who will not move a step without a book in their hand. So that will never go away. It's stairs and escalators, basically. They'll both get you there.
Great. So what's next from Kiran Manral?
What's next from Kiran Manral? Okay, Rising 2 has just gone into press, so that should be out March. There is a dark fantasy out in August.
Wow.
There are two short stories in there's the Gulan's book of there's the Hatchet book of Indian detective fiction, which is out in Jan, which has a short story by me, and that's also another genre bending one. I'm very proud of it. There's another anthology by being edited by Shiny Anthony, which has a short story that's coming out. Then there are books under deadline and commission. There's one book under deadline and commission, and there are two books which I don't know whether to jump them or continue with them. So
that's a lot of things on your plate as always, and so wonderful. So wonderful to know that so many different things are coming up from you.
I said I have a low boredom threshold, Kanchana. I can't stick to one thing at a time. So
that's good. That's amazing. That's really amazing. So, with that, we wrap up today's episode. Thank you once again, Kiran, for such a wonderful, lively chat. Always wonderful to listen to you, chat with you, and meet you. And look forward to your books. And please do buy and read our books, friends. As I always say, it's good karma to support and help authors. And thank you.
Thanks, Kanchana. Thanks for this and all the very best for the podcast and all for your future books as well.
Thank you. Thank you.